My brother's fiancée slapped me in front of 150 people at their engagement party because I wouldn't give up my cottage. Turns out, an industry icon was watching. I don't usually go to family events, but I made an exception for this one. My younger brother, Caleb, was getting engaged, and my parents insisted I be there. Said it was important. Family milestone, my mom said. Don't embarrass us. My name is Jonathan Grady. I'm 35 years old, an architect living out in Hudson, New York. I keep to myself. My life is quiet, by design. I built it that way, after years of growing up in a house where nothing ever was. The party was at a historic estate in the Catskills, all white tablecloths and soft jazz. The kind of place people rent to feel important. I stood near the back patio with a glass of something sparkling and tried not to draw attention. That worked for about 10 minutes. There you are. My mom's voice cut through the crowd. She walked straight toward me with my dad on her heels, like they'd rehearsed this. Hi, I said, bracing for something. We need to talk, she said, grabbing my elbow and steering me away from the guests. Privately, Dad didn't say much. He just stared ahead like this was some kind of intervention. They led me down a side path, past the hedges, and stopped under one of those white canopy tents. It was just far enough from the party for voices not to carry. I already hated where this was going. What's this about? I asked, even though I knew. It's time, my mom started. Time to stop playing selfish. I stared at her. What are you talking about? The cottage, Dad said. You've had it long enough. I blinked. You mean my house? You mean the one Caleb and Amelia could use to start their life? Mom said sharply. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was insane. You want me to give them my home? You don't even have a family, she snapped. You sit out there alone. It's wasteful. Dad nodded. You owe this family something, Jonathan. After all your years of running off, chasing your little architect dreams, it's time you contribute. I looked at both of them. My mouth went dry. That cottage is mine. I bought it. I restored it. Every stone, every window, I built that life. It's not a hand-me-down. Mom crossed her arms. And what has it done for the family? It saved me, I said quietly. From you. And that's when Amelia appeared. She had been listening. Maybe the whole time. Her stilettos clicked over the flagstones as she marched toward me. You ungrateful jerk, she hissed. And then, without warning, she slapped me. Hard. My cheek stung. My ears rang. Somewhere in the background, someone laughed. Then someone else. I turned and saw a ripple of guests watching like it was a show. Laughter spread like wildfire. One woman actually clapped. I didn't say a word. I didn't react. I just stood there as everyone stared. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt something deep in my chest shift. It wasn't shame. It was clarity. By the time I got home, it was nearly midnight. The sky was cloudless, and the air had that still, eerie quiet you only find in the countryside after dark. I parked the truck in the gravel lot out front and just sat there for a while, watching the porch light flicker. My cheek still throbbed where Amelia had hit me, but it wasn't the slap that hurt. It was the laughter. 150 people, some of whom I'd known since childhood, all chuckling like it was a sitcom. Like I was the joke. I stepped into the cottage without turning on the lights. I didn't need them. I knew every creak in the floor, every warped edge of every handmade beam. I'd sanded each one myself. I knew the smell of the plaster and would like it was part of me. The kitchen was quiet. The whole house was really a sharp contrast to the voices echoing in my head. Mom calling me selfish, Dad talking about how I owed them. That word stuck with me. Owed. As if love was a debt. As if breaking away to build something of my own was a betrayal. I walked to the desk in the corner of the living room and ran my hand over its edge. It had once been a cracked old table I found in a junkyard. I restored it over a winter, just like I'd done with the floors, the shutters, the roof. Every inch of this place had been touched by my hands. It wasn't just a house. It was the only thing in my life no one had ever tried to take credit for. I sat down and opened my laptop. Before I typed anything, I just stared at the blank screen. It reminded me of all those nights I'd spent alone here. Cold winters, pouring rain, early mornings. And even in the loneliest moments, I'd never felt more at peace than I did here, in this quiet place I'd built myself. Growing up, Caleb got away with everything. Parties in high school, wrecking Dad's car, skipping out on responsibilities. I was the one who picked up the slack. When I landed a scholarship to Syracuse, they didn't even come to the awards banquet. Mom said she had a hair appointment. Dad never offered a reason. But they showed up for Caleb's DUI hearing like it was a graduation. Still, I never stopped trying. I used to think that if I just succeeded enough, they'd see me. Not just see me, accept me. Turns out they were fine keeping me invisible, as long as I stayed useful. The slap at the party? That wasn't about emotion. It was about power. It was Amelia telling me I didn't matter. Telling me they could take anything from me, even my dignity, and everyone would laugh along. Not this time. I started typing. The title came easily. The cottage they couldn't steal. I wrote about the cottage. About the years it took to build it. About the request to give it up. About the slap. About the laughter. I didn't name names, not yet. But I didn't need to. It wasn't just a story. It was a reckoning. And I was done staying quiet. By sunrise, the article was live. I didn't expect much at first. Just figured a few readers of Northeast Architect might skim it between feature spreads and glossy house tours. But I underestimated something. How many people had been where I was? How many had been told by family that success only counted if it came dressed in their version of acceptable? The email came in first, just one. Subject: thank you for writing this. Then a second. This happened to me. Different details, same entitlement. Stay strong. By 10 a.m., my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. The piece had been picked up by a larger design outlet. Someone tagged it, the slap heard, round the estate. Another wrote, a masterclass in boundary setting from someone who rebuilt more than just a home. I hadn't included photos in the original post, but apparently someone else had. A shaky clip from the party, just a few seconds, of Amelia raising her hand and striking me. My face turning slightly with the impact. And then the sound. That horrible swell of laughter. I watched it once, maybe twice. Then I turned off the volume. It was surreal, seeing myself from the outside like that. The stillness. How I didn't flinch or raise my voice. Just stood there while the crowd reacted like they'd seen a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat. By noon, my inbox was flooded. An architecture podcast wanted me as a guest. A creative agency offered to fly me to Austin to speak on ownership and artistic resilience. A woman who ran an independent artists collective in Seattle asked if I'd contribute a monthly column about navigating toxic expectations in creative families. And then the comments. Some were from strangers. Some from colleagues I hadn't spoken to in years. Your story gave me the guts to say no to my brother, who still thinks he can crash on my couch rent-free while I pay the bills. I haven't talked to my parents in 2 years because I refused to sign over my inheritance. Your words made me feel seen. I didn't even know architects could write like this. There were jokes, too. One post had a screen grab of Amelia mid-slap with the caption, when entitlement wears a cocktail dress. Another said, cottagecore meets revenge arc. I'm invested. At some point, even the New York Post picked it up. Their headline wasn't subtle. Architect slapped at brother's engagement party writes viral essay. They tried to steal my cottage. I couldn't tell if they meant it seriously or not. But I didn't care. Because for the first time, the truth was out there. No edits. No family spin. No apologies. I sat in the reading nook I'd built with salvage window glass and stared out over the trees. The leaves were just starting to yellow. Everything looked the same. But everything had changed. I wasn't hiding anymore. They had wanted me small, quiet, grateful, disposable. But now? Now they couldn't ignore me if they tried. 2 days after the story went viral, the calls started. Not the supportive ones, those kept coming. These were different. The names flashing across my screen made my chest tighten. Mom, Dad, Caleb. I didn't answer. I couldn't. They left voicemails instead. The same voices that once told me I was ungrateful now sounded panicked, defensive. You had no right to humiliate us like that, Mom said. This family has always kept things private. This was betrayal. Dad's voice was angrier, sharper. You think making us into some sob story is justice? You've blown everything out of proportion. Take it down. Fix it. I didn't. By the end of the week, it was chaos. The slap video had made its way onto gossip sites. There was even a meme going around of Amelia mid-swing, captioned, when he won't give you his house, so you give him a headline. I'd be lying if I said I didn't laugh the first time I saw it. Not because it was funny, but because Amelia always thought image was everything. She curated her life the way someone arranges tulips, symmetrical, intentional, artificial. And now the world was seeing something real and ugly. According to someone who used to intern for her, 3 sponsors dropped her by Friday. Brands didn't want to be associated with a wellness influencer who assaults people at parties. Her management company went silent. Her Instagram comments turned. What used to be filtered affirmations were now questions like, was that really you in the slap video? And so much for positive energy, huh? Caleb finally called. I answered that one. His voice was hoarse, like he hadn't slept. What the hell, John? You'll need to be more specific, I said. You blew up our lives. No, I corrected. I told the truth. You all decided to turn it into theater. He didn't respond right away. I heard something in the background, maybe Amelia shouting, maybe just the TV. Then he said quietly, her family's pissed. Her mom called me crying. Sponsors are gone. I don't even know if we're still getting married. I didn't say anything. You know, he added, if you'd just given us the cottage, none of this would have happened. That one made me laugh. Bitter and loud. Still think this is about a house? I think it's about you needing attention, he said. And I replied, you're finally finding out what it feels like when the spotlight isn't flattering. Before he could say anything else, I hung up. That same afternoon, I got an email from a senior editor at an urban development journal. They wanted me to speak at a symposium in Boston. Topic: architectural space and personal boundaries. I accepted. As I closed the laptop, I caught a glimpse of myself in the darkened window. Same face, same quiet eyes. But I felt taller. Not in pride, but in peace. They tried to knock me down in front of a crowd. And now? They were the ones unraveling. She showed up just after 6. I was in the garden behind the cottage, trimming back some overgrown vines along the stone wall. The sun had dipped low, the sky glowing amber, casting the yard in long golden shadows. I didn't hear her car, just the sound of heels crunching gravel and the low, uncertain clearing of a throat. I turned. Amelia stood at the gate. No camera crew. No flowing dress. No bright white teeth flashing for a thumbnail. Just jeans, a hoodie, and a face scrubbed raw from crying. She looked nothing like the woman who had slapped me in front of 150 people. "Hi," she said, voice small. I didn't answer. Just waited. I wanted to talk, she said, stepping inside without being invited. I didn't know where else to go. You had plenty of places before, I replied. She flinched. There was silence between us for a few seconds. Only the wind moved, rustling the trees, brushing the side of the cottage like fingers against a cheek. I didn't mean to humiliate you, she said. The slap, it wasn't premeditated. I just reacted. It got out of hand. I let that hang. And the laughing? I asked. She looked away. I wasn't laughing. You were smiling, I said. Same thing. She ran a hand through her hair. I've lost everything, Jonathan. Sponsors, deals, press invites. People won't even return my emails. I'm toxic now. And what do you want from me? I need help rebuilding, she said carefully. Fixing the narrative. If you reframe the article, say it was a misunderstanding, maybe even accept a public apology, we could spin it. Maybe even partner on something. A redemption arc. It took everything in me not to laugh. You think I care about your brand? I said. I just thought maybe, after everything, we could move past this. Together. I stared at her. Do you even remember the things you said about me? Before the slap. The snide little digs at family dinners. How you used to joke that I was the wild older brother who'd probably die alone in a cabin like some sad fairy tale character. That wasn't serious. No, I said. But this is. She was quiet now. Hands in her pockets. Eyes down. I can pay you, she whispered. I've got some savings. I don't need your money. Then what do you need? I stepped forward, opened the gate wide, and said 2 words. Leave. Now. She stared at me, eyes wide. I didn't blink. She turned and walked back to her car, heels dragging across gravel like a slow apology. The gate clicked shut behind her. And for the first time in my life, I felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just done. News travels fast in small towns, but scandal travels faster. I didn't go looking for updates on Caleb and Amelia. Didn't need to. They came to me, through whispers, texts, secondhand rumors from mutual acquaintances who'd suddenly decided I was worth talking to. They called off the engagement. Officially. The press release said irreconcilable differences. But people close to the family said it was chaos behind the scenes. Amelia's parents were livid, furious that their daughter's brand was in free fall and demanding Caleb step in to fix it. He couldn't. Or wouldn't. I wasn't sure. Either way, it crumbled. By midweek, her influencer account went private. A few brands issued bland statements about reevaluating collaborations. The lifestyle podcasts that once fawned over her were suddenly silent. And then came the real blow. A leaked email from a sponsor showing her threatening to destroy the man who ruined everything, unless they pulled their campaign. They dropped her the next day. Publicly. Caleb? He tried to keep his distance. But I heard from a cousin that he was spiraling. Lost weight. Lost work. He'd quit his tech job a few weeks before the party, expecting to join Amelia's brand full-time as her creative partner. Now he was unemployed and living back in our parents' guest house. As for mom and dad, they were pariahs now, quietly but noticeably pushed aside by their social group. Some friends pulled away entirely, not wanting to be associated with a public meltdown. Others just stopped responding to invites. And while they scrambled, something strange started happening to me. People were reaching out. Not just random followers or angry family. Real people. Writers. Architects. Designers. A real estate podcaster did a 30-minute segment titled Ownership Battles and the Price of Boundaries, using my article as the centerpiece. She read my words aloud. My words. Then followed with a panel of guests talking about the way families manipulate success. I sat in my kitchen, half a sandwich in hand, listening to strangers discuss my life like it was a case study. And weirdly, I didn't hate it. One guy said, this wasn't about property. It was about identity. About a man protecting the only part of himself that hadn't been taken. Someone else called me a symbol. I wasn't sure how I felt about that. I wasn't trying to be a symbol. I just wanted to be left alone. But maybe that was the point. Maybe saying no out loud, in public, with conviction, that was the part people needed to see. I got a message that night from an architecture student in Chicago. She said, "Your story reminded me that we're allowed to keep what we've earned, even from the people who gave us nothing but demands." I read it 3 times. Then I closed my phone, stepped out onto the porch, and watched the stars blink through the trees. They were quiet, honest, untouchable, just like this place, just like me now. It's strange how peace doesn't arrive all at once. It sneaks in, little by little. One morning I woke up and realized I hadn't checked my phone in 12 hours. No anxiety about missed calls, no guilt tugging at the edge of my conscience. Just quiet. I made coffee and sat on the back porch, looking out at the trees swaying in the breeze, and it hit me. I had made it. Not in some grand, cinematic way, but in a steady, unshakable kind of way. I was still standing, still whole, still home. I started changing the cottage around. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. The second bedroom, once a glorified storage space, became a proper guest retreat. Not for family, for chosen people. The kind you let into your life because they've earned it. I added a reading lounge too. Turned the old sunroom into a space filled with shelves, quiet music, soft chairs, and a skylight that soaked everything in honey-colored light around sunset. I called it the stillness room. No phones allowed. A few close friends came to stay that fall. Fellow creatives, old college friends who had stayed in touch, even a young architect I'd mentored years ago who just needed a weekend to breathe. They called the cottage magical. I didn't disagree. Around the same time, I got a call from someone at Grayson & Mill, one of the most respected firms on the East Coast. They'd read my article and listened to the symposium talk. Said they liked my clarity of design thinking and sense of self. Offered me a remote consultancy role. I said yes. Not because I needed the job, because I wanted to build something again, on my terms. The funny thing about boundaries is that once you set them, the world doesn't end. People just adjust, or they disappear. And if they disappear, they were never meant to stay. I haven't heard from Caleb since the engagement fell apart. Not a word. Amelia posted a carefully worded apology on her private feed, but never sent it to me directly. My parents tried one last time, another voicemail from Mom, all sorrow and sugar. I didn't listen past the first 5 seconds. I deleted it, and then I blocked her. One evening, I was out on the porch again, glass of wine in hand, a soft breeze rustling through the trees, and my phone lit up. Mom, calling from a different number. I let it ring. Then I let it go. No more explanations. No more justifications. No more cracks in the walls I'd rebuilt. I walked back inside, shut the door, and turned the lock, not out of fear, but intention. This home is mine. Every stone, every board, every inch of peace inside these walls. Not inherited. Not borrowed. Mine.